Hello, this is the last of the series of videos on the Baha'i view of human rights, this one dealing with two topics, the family and praxis. It comes from a paper I first presented at an international symposium on the conception of human rights held under the aegis of the International Sociological Association back in 1985. I've lightly edited it for publication. It's published in Mikhail Sergeev's collection of essays, Religion and Science, in the Globalized World. I'll give the reference below in the notes. This paper is obviously based on my own understanding of the various Baha'i sources relating to human rights. I've given those references in the published article, so if you want to check those up, see them there. Also, I should say today seems particularly noisy, so let me make a general apology for any outside noise you hear during today's videos. Bangkok is noisy most of the time, with street vendors and traffic and even overflying helicopters. So my apologies to you if there are too many distracting noises. I pause the recording sometimes just to let the helicopters fly over or whatever else it may be, but it's impossible to record a video without some outside noise. I've divided the paper up into 7 separate videos since the last one dealing with these two topics of the family and praxis. Let's start off with family life. The importance of family life is much stressed in the Baha'i writings. The marriage bond is regarded as a potential spiritual union, transcending the limitations of earthly life, whilst the institution of the family is regarded as the primary means for the effective moral and religious socialization of children. Thus, Baha'is are encouraged to marry monogamously and to establish stable and harmonious families. Baha'is are also advised that the most stable unions are those based on spiritual attraction, comradeship, and companionship between the parties. There are no barriers based on religion to marriage, and interracial marriage is positively regarded. As to the regulation of marriage, the choice of partner rests, with the couple, but requires the consent of their parents, so as to ensure family harmony. Extramarital unions and concubinage are forbidden. Divorce is discouraged, but permitted if the marriage has suffered irreparable breakdown. The couple should first try to resolve any difficulties in their marriage through consultation between themselves, seeking external guidance if helpful. Arbitrary and instant divorce of the wife by the husband, still common in some parts of the world, is forbidden. Whilst the procreation of children is regarded as the primary purpose of marriage, there is no ban on the use of birth control to limit the number of children the couple may have. It's up to the couple to decide how best to plan their family life. Abortion for non-medical reasons is forbidden, but effectively treated as a matter of personal conscience. Within the family, each member is believed to have their own rights and responsibilities. Children have a right to be educated by their parents, but in turn have a duty to respect and serve their parents. Responsibility for providing for the family and bringing up the children rests with both parents, but the mother is regarded as being chiefly responsible for rearing the child and has a corresponding right to be supported by her husband. The actual balance of responsibilities between any particular couple is for them to decide, however. In all cases, all family members should show due consideration for the rest. None have the right to unjustly dominate the others, and each should seek a relationship based on frank and loving consultation rather than arbitrary power. All forms of domestic violence are condemned. Now let's turn to the final topic of praxis, which I'm defining as the combination of theory and practice. First of all, the Baha'i account of the demands of social justice is essentially informed by a profoundly religious vision of the nature and purpose of human life. This account readily encompasses areas of social life which many modern Westerners tend to see as secular concerns, reflects a lack of a sharp distinction in Baha'i thinking between sacred and secular. Baha'is may emphasize the ultimate otherworldliness of human existence and assume political involvement, but all areas of human life are regarded as being open to religious commentary and shaping. Furthermore, it is characteristic of the Baha'i view of human rights that the attainment of human objectives is seen both in a global context and in spiritual as well as practical terms. Thus, Baha'is emphasize that issues such as economic injustice and suffering, the abuse of civil rights, arbitrary rule, racism, sexism, and international conflict can no longer be seen as isolated local problems. They are global issues which impact the stability and development of humanity as a whole and have to be addressed as such. Solutions can only be properly effective if they take account of the increasing integration and interactiveness of global society. Moreover, whilst Baha'is insist on the necessity of significant institutional changes to solve social and economic problems, they also emphasize that the spiritual and moral dimension of those problems have to be addressed. Without changes in social attitudes and the acceptance of individual moral responsibility, the full potentialities of social justice cannot be achieved. Another aspect of the Baha'i approach to human rights is what I've termed their pragmatic idealism. Whilst holding to a set of highly idealistic principles and objectives, Baha'is show a willingness to begin with mundane realities and try to work constructively from that base towards the higher goals. In this, they follow the example of their leaders. Baha'u'llah's distinction between the goal of the desired kingdom of God on earth and that of the more immediate goal of peace between the nations is a case in point. He inspired his followers with the millennial vision of what he termed the most great peace, but he also saw fit to outline a proposal for a collective security as a pragmatic response to the international tensions of his day. Given the dynamism of the global Baha'i community and the readiness of the Baha'is to work with other groups with whom they're in sympathy, the Baha'i account of human rights represents more than simply a catalogue of idealistic objectives. Although any proper evaluation of the Baha'is' endeavor to implement their vision of social justice is premature, in practical terms, the international expansion of the Baha'i community has undoubtedly served to foster support for basic human rights. In the long run, Baha'i expansion in the global south may be particularly significant in this regard. In terms of the rights associated with socio-economic development, there is an evident acceleration of activity. Although the emphasis is on local initiatives by local Baha'i communities, an International Office of Social and Economic Development was established in 1983 at the Baha'i World Center to provide general coordination. This was later replaced by the Baha'i International Development Organization in 2019. Various aspects of development have received attention, most particularly perhaps education, with Baha'i literacy programs in schools now proliferating in a number of countries. Following Baha'i principles, these programs are open to all, regardless of religion, and are directed at adults, especially women in those countries where the literacy rates are lower than those of men, as well as children. In terms of cultural and political rights, the Baha'i insistence on not getting involved in partisan politics and being obedient to the laws of the countries in which they live have obviously limited their critique of specific cases of injustice. Baha'i activity is nevertheless potentially significant, particularly in the global south, where Baha'is gain consultative experience through the establishment of their own local administrative bodies in a context which emphasizes the equality of all participants, regardless of their gender, their race, or ethnic identity. The empowerment of women and minority group members may be particularly significant here. Throughout the world, Baha'i women are playing an increasingly central role in the organization of their religion, whilst the Baha'i stress on the validity of local indigenous cultures is providing encouragement to members of otherwise despised cultural minorities to take pride in their own identity and cultural achievements. It's also of note that the faith's international leadership increasingly reflects the preponderant membership of Baha'is from the global south. Finally, in terms of international order, Baha'is are seeking to become increasingly involved in the activities of the United Nations, seeing its goals and objectives as useful and necessary contributions to the attainment of their own vision of the future of human society. Whatever the future potential and success of the Baha'is' endeavor to implement their vision of social justice, their underlying conception of human rights and responsibilities is neither closed nor exclusive. For Baha'is, the implementation of their principles is an objective that transcends their own activities as a religious community. They would see the onward progress of the human race as having a dynamic of its own, of which the Baha'is conceive themselves as being but a necessary part. So, thank you very much for listening, and particular thanks to my patrons for their kind support and encouragement. Without them, I wouldn't be able to make these videos. Please do like, comment, and share on the videos if you want to support my channel. Subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. I'll give a Patreon link below in case you want to provide practical support. Next week, another Baha'i-related topic begins with a series of videos on the Universal House of Justice and the Baha'i world in the period 1963-1973. Have a good day.